Abandoned disabled girl discovers a life-altering connection. What this inspiring CEO did will amaze you. Lily sat in her cramped room at the foster home, flipping through the brittle pages of an old journal she found while researching local history. Her heart raced with each word she read about Mary, the entrepreneurial warrior who rose from ashes. Yet, a gnawing fear settled in her stomach. Their worlds were galaxies apart. How could she, a girl with a disability, ever hope to emulate the formidable woman who defied the odds? She wrestled with her fingers, the familiar numbness crawling up her legs, whispering the same story she had known all her life, always overlooked, never quite enough. The echoes of abandonment wrapped around her like a heavy cloak. Unlike the flowing narratives in Mary's journal detailing successes, Lily's life felt drudged in shadows. Good grades earned her fleeting praise, but couldn't banish the loneliness that clung stubbornly like morning fog. As she envisioned the nonprofit she dreamed of launching for disabled youth, her thoughts spiraled. Was it a naive fantasy? A way to escape the underestimation she faced daily? Then came the moral dilemma: reach out to Mary, the very icon whose life had stirred the embers of her dreams, or remain silent, caged by uncertainty. What if Mary dismissed her, seeing only her disability rather than the spark of determination igniting within her? What if was a cruel companion, echoing in her mind as she paced the small room? Just as the tension peaked, Lily recalled a familiar voice, the nurturing voice that often lulled her worries to sleep, her late-night thoughts of ambition mingling with despair. As fear loomed large, she glimpsed hope anew. She grabbed a faded journal, spilling her soul onto the pages, her admiration for Mary, her struggles, her aspirations. "I want to show the world that we matter," she wrote fervently. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Days dragged as anxiety gnawed at her resolve. The mailbox became a harbinger of both expectation and despair. Would Mary's response matter, or would it shatter her already fragile hopes? Then came the envelope, plump, unopened, brimming with potential. As she tore it open, reality flooded her senses. Mary's words leaped from the page, inviting Lily into a world she had only dared to dream of, but the revelations didn't stop there. As the warmth of Mary's encouragement enveloped her, a cold shiver crept through her heart. Memories of her past whispered of a family that abandoned her, visions of acceptance taunting her. Just as her relationship with Mary blossomed, a new discovery of tangled truths regarding her biological family surfaced, toppling the safety she clung to. What if the ties to her past were not as severed as she believed? Which path would define her dreams or her roots? The decision loomed before her like an unyielding wall, teetering on the edge of transformation. The urgency of her choice clashed with the depth of her heart, leaving her breathless. As she grasped the trembling edges of her burgeoning identity, a storm brewed in her mind. What if she chose wrong? What if, in seeking the connections she desired, she lost the very essence she was trying to build? The weight of this decision bore down on her, testing everything she thought she knew about family, belonging, and ambition, leaving her frozen on that precipice, desperately yearning for clarity yet dreading the revelation that might come. The walls of her room seemed to close in as Lily wrestled with the gravity of her options. Should she dig deeper into her biological family's past, a path fraught with uncertainty, or forge ahead with the dreams inspired by Mary? Each choice felt like a distinct fork in a road, either could lead to growth or heartache. Glancing at the journal where she documented her hopes, she felt a surge of defiance. Yes, she was disabled, but it was not her identity. While she feared being defined by her condition, she also knew that it was part of her narrative, one that could empower rather than immobilize her. She had a unique voice, and it was becoming clearer that her experiences could resonate with others facing similar struggles. The thought ignited sparks of determination within her. What Mary had built was more than just a successful business, it was a beacon of hope for those who had been cast aside by society. If she reached out to Mary, it wouldn't only be about seeking mentorship. It was about stepping into her own power, rising beyond limitations, and offering something valuable back to the world. Deciding to send a follow-up message, Lily focused on the purpose of her communication. She expressed genuine gratitude for Mary's encouragement while sharing her own growing vision, a nonprofit aimed at mentoring disabled youth, empowering them through shared wisdom. She hit send, her heart pounding. Vulnerability and excitement intertwined, but so did fear. What if her dreams seemed trivial to Mary? What if she was still seen merely as a girl defined by her disability? Days melted into a blur of anticipation and restless nights. Each moment stretched painfully as she envisioned a reply on the horizon, but silence fell heavy in her chest. Then, one afternoon, as she returned from her daily walk outside, the sight of another envelope in the mailbox sent her heart racing. The handwriting, elegant and familiar, sent an electric thrill through her veins. Mary's response was rich with encouragement but also offered something unexpected. "We all have roots, Lily," she wrote. "Embrace them, but don't let them anchor you." Each line seemed to unlock a door of possibility within her mind. It was a call to action. She possessed both the potential to inspire and the power to change her narrative. Yet, as Mary invited Lily to join her for a weekend seminar, another wave of doubt washed over her. The idea of entering the world of business, confronting those polished professionals, felt daunting. The thought of having to explain her story in a space that felt so foreign pinched her fears shut, coaxing old insecurities awake. Would they accept her? Was she ready to face a reality so starkly different from her own? As she mulled over the invitation, Lily found herself at a crossroads once again. The prospect of this seminar could either catapult her forward or expose her vulnerabilities to be scrutinized. The door to her dreams swung open wider, but with it came an onslaught of anticipation and trepidation. Could she muster the courage to step into this new world where preconceptions would collide with her reality? With determination churning in her gut, Lily clenched her fists. The time had come to make a choice. Would she embrace this opportunity, risk it all, and unveil the depths of her true ambitions, or would she retreat into the comfort of what she knew? This next step would not only determine her professional development but also shape her identity in ways she could hardly imagine. How would she confront the conflicting emotions that surged within her? Would she seize this moment to shape her narrative, or would the shadows of her past pull her back into the depths of insecurity that gripped her? The answer lay ahead, waiting for her to take the plunge. Lily's heart raced as she sat on the edge of her bed, the envelope from Mary burning a hole in her thoughts. Daring to imagine the seminar, she envisioned her place in that polished room, a stranger among seasoned veterans. The idea of presenting herself amid professionals felt overwhelming. Could she truly belong? But as the excitement and fear swirled together, something deeper began to surface, a hunger for validation that stemmed from years of feeling overlooked. Her disability had always felt like a barrier, but now it was morphing into a bridge, connecting her to a world she had once only admired from afar. This time, she wasn't seeking acceptance, she was preparing to assert herself. Deciding to focus on her strengths, she took a moment to recall her journey. Each setback had forged resilience, each struggle sparked a greater understanding of herself. She wasn't just a disabled girl, she was a powerhouse of stories and lessons, armed with an insight that came only from lived experience. That realization propelled her to action. The next morning, Lily immersed herself in preparation. She filled pages in her journal with thoughts about her vision for the nonprofit, outlining not just what she wanted to accomplish, but why. She wanted to create a space for young people who may feel defeated by their circumstances, showing them that their voices mattered. Each entry felt like a declaration, a way to project strength into the universe. She practiced speaking about her ideas aloud, revising her points meticulously, conjuring the image of Mary nodding in approval as she shared her passion. Every rehearsal built her confidence, combating the persistent doubts that whispered she wasn't enough. The night before the seminar, those doubts threatened to consume her yet again. What if she faltered? What if her nerves spiraled, and she let that familiar fear fester? She stared into the mirror, seeking resolve beyond the surface. "You are more than your insecurities," she whispered to herself. "You're here to make an impact." The warmth of her own words encouraged her, fortifying her against the doubts. When morning arrived, she donned her favorite blazer, a symbol of her newfound determination, and set off for the seminar. The journey felt surreal. As the city rushed by, she sensed hope pulse through her veins, mingling with apprehension. Arriving at the venue, the stark contrast of her environment washed over her. Gleaming walls and fashionable suits swarmed her senses. She took a deep breath, aligning herself with her vision. This was it, this was where she needed to be. As she navigated the crowd, Lily felt her confidence start to waver. Conversations buzzed around her, and she felt small again, an outsider tiptoeing among the secure. Yet a flicker within reminded her of her purpose. She sought to inspire, not to conform. That flicker ignited a fierce inner resolve. When Mary's voice called for introductions, the room hushed. Lily felt a pull from her gut, a powerful urge to share her vision. But as she took a step forward, the blanket of vulnerability threatened to constrict her. The seminar offered a platform, but would she shrink from it or rise? The moment Hannah, a polished woman with piercing gaze, took the floor, something shifted. Hannah spoke with assurance about barriers to success, spotlighting stories of overcoming odds. Experience is not the burden one carries, but the strength one uses, she declared. Her words resonated with Lily, rippling through her doubt. It lifted her spirit as she envisioned herself among professionals, embodying the narrative she so desperately wanted to share. Could this be a stage not just for her, but for the youth she aimed to empower? The thought ignited a fire in her. She was not merely attending, she was here to forge her place in the world. Lily leaned forward, her pulse steadying. This was her moment, not only to confront her fears but also to become the voice for those who had yet to find theirs. As Mary encouraged the group to share their stories, the weight of expectation pressed down on Lily. Was she willing to take that leap? In the depths of her heart, the answer lay waiting, a potential revelation as thrilling as it was terrifying. But before she could form the courage to speak, she caught a glimpse of Hannah's discerning eyes scanning the room. What reaction might she incur? Would she earn disdain or respect? Each second became electric, teetering on the edge of vulnerability and strength. This was her chance. Would she seize it, or allow fear to silence her forever? The moment was alive with tension, her future awaited in the space between breaths. Lily took a deep breath, her chest rising and falling as she battled the tempest of emotions within. Every heartbeat echoed her self-doubt, yet somewhere in the clamor of her nerves, a flicker of determination ignited. Could she step into the light and make her voice resonate as strongly as Hannah's? The queue of people sharing their journeys moved forward, each story a kaleidoscope of struggle and perseverance. As she listened, a tapestry of shared humanity unfolded, voices wrapped in triumphs and shrouded in vulnerabilities. With every tale, she felt the gravity of her own experience. It was not simply her fear she had to face, but the weight of her potential influence. But her moment lingered. The longer she waited, the more she felt the solid ground beneath her set like quicksand. The stories swirling around the room began to blend into a buzzing noise that clouded her thoughts. Instead of clinging to their sentiments, Lily's mind turned inward. She questioned her readiness. Who was she to contribute? What unique insight could she offer that others might deem valuable? Then, as if summoned by the feverish thoughts spiraling inside her, Hannah turned her gaze toward Lily, locking onto her with an intensity that stole the breath from her lungs. In that heartbeat, the room evaporated around them. It was just the two of them. You have something to say, Hannah mouthed, her expression firm yet encouraging. It was as if a dam broke within her. No longer merely an observer to others' narratives, she began to grasp that her own story was equally important. With unyielding clarity, Lily recalled her own journey through shadows and light, the lessons learned, and how each moment had shaped her aspirations. What if her purpose was not just to advocate for herself, but to empower others breaking through similar barriers? With renewed vigor, Lily surged to her feet, surprising even herself with the boldness of her movements. The room turned, all eyes now drawn to her presence. A low murmur rippled through the audience, anticipation twisted in the air, weaving anxiety and support. She stood at the epicenter of her fears, cracking wide open the door to her suppressed desire, to be heard. Her voice flowed, trembling initially but gaining momentum as she spoke. She shared the story not of her disability, but of the strength it had birthed within her. Her words formed a bridge between isolation and connection, illuminating the intricate beauty found in adversity. She painted a picture of hope for the youth she wished to empower, a dream where they could reclaim their narratives amidst heavy odds. As she spoke, the room began to respond, not just with nods of understanding, but with a palpable energy that vibrated through her. The fear that had once held her hostage melted away, replaced by a sense of fulfillment as she realized she was not just sharing her experience but starting a dialogue. Eyes widened, smiles formed, and for the first time, she felt like one among many. When she finished, applause erupted. It surged through her, and she absorbed every resounding clap and cheer like a lifeline. She had stepped not just forward but into a new realm of possibility. Those who had once seemed intimidating were simply fellow travelers, united in their stories and experiences. Hannah approached, her demeanor as warm as her presence had been commanding. "That was incredibly powerful, Lily. Your insights are what this community desperately needs," she said, her words wrapping Lily in validation. Yet along with the praise came realization. She now faced the challenge of carrying her newfound voice beyond this sanctuary of support. The taste of acceptance was sweet, but the path ahead was saturated with unfamiliarity. As the seminar continued, Lily's heart raced with a fresh anxiety, not of fear but of responsibility. What would her role be in this community? How could she translate one moment of courage into ongoing impact? And there, blossoming in the fertile ground of her thoughts, came a vivid question. What if the journey had only just begun? Would she have the will to transform this awakening into something deeply impactful, something more than a fleeting moment? This was her new frontier, and she was both terrified and exhilarated as she stepped toward it, uncertainty fueling her resilience. The next transformation loomed within reach, ready to be seized. The buzz of applause faded, leaving an electric hum in its wake. Lily's heart still raced, each thump reverberating insistent reminders of possibility. She glanced around the room, feeling the warmth of validation wrap around her like a soft blanket, yet as she took a step back from the spotlight, a new reverie took hold. The rush of speaking had rekindled something latent within her, but now, the weight of expectation loomed larger than the accolades. What would come next? Speaking had been just the beginning, a launching pad into a vast, uncharted territory. Yet every step into this new space felt like a venture into a foggy wilderness, hesitant yet driven. She needed to grasp the strings of her impact and shape them into something tangible. The remaining participants milled about, sharing thoughts and exchanging contact information. While they embraced this newfound camaraderie, facing their desires for connection, Lily felt the familiar wave of anxiety bubble again. What if her voice was just that, an echo that would soon fade? Her earlier triumph was still vivid, yet now the concept of building on it suffocated her momentum with doubt. She felt the pull of the quicksand beneath her, as if the very confidence she had fostered was intent on dragging her back into silence. Pacing to the edge of the room, she focused on her breathing and locked eyes with Hannah, who was now surrounded by a small group engaged in animated conversation. The sight of her mentor reminded Lily of the responsibility that came with empowerment, the expectation of consistency, of ongoing commitment not just to herself but to others who would look to her for reassurance. As she stood there, her mind whirred. Hannah had turned her personal struggles into a mission. Could Lily do the same? She pondered her workspace. Her art studio was filled with half-finished projects that captured her struggles and triumphs, yet it had been shrouded in neglect. What if she reallocated that energy into creating something meaningful beyond her canvases? What if her art could become a medium for change, an invitation for others to explore their stories and feelings? There came a sudden clarity. She did not seek to lead, she simply wished to illuminate, to foster a space where her struggles intermingled with those of others, much like the evening had unfolded. This could be more than a conversation, it could be a collaborative journey that blossomed into an art initiative designed to empower others. Her impulse to act surged anew, igniting something deeper within her goals. Lily envisioned art workshops not only where she could teach others to express their struggles but create the very dialogues she sought to inspire. The idea seduced her, balancing on the edge of thrilling and daunting like a tightrope. The determination blossomed as she mapped out the logistics in her mind, yet it was still so abstract. Would her vision resonate with others? Might they gather around her concept like moths to a flame, eager for a shared experience intended to uplift? Questions quickened her pulse. Visualization alone was not enough. Change required execution, and she had to start reaching out. With a deep breath, she steeled herself for the task ahead. She would approach Hannah again, share her ideas, and seek mentorship beyond just encouragement. But who else should she involve? Each name that danced through her mind carried the whisper of both promise and fear of judgment. What if they thought her notion too naive, too ambitious? Just as the doubts crept in, Lily caught Hannah's eye again, this time with a focused determination. The moment solidified, the next step was not merely to brainstorm but to confront the very apprehension that had burrowed itself in the heart of her newfound mission. As she strode back across the room, purpose lending weight to her steps, she felt an urgency, one that could potentially forge connections that mattered. Yet, would she be met with understanding or skepticism? With her breath hitching, she reached out for Hannah's attention, wondering if she could harness this moment to catch her breath before leaping forward again. The air thickened with tension and possibility, and she realized the leap she had to take was only beginning. Would she have the courage not only to reach out but to confront the fears within those that whispered she might fail? The path ahead awaited her decision and, for the first time in a long while, the fear transformed into fuel for a new exploration. But would her initiative inspire others, or would she be left standing at the threshold of her dreams? Lily's heart drummed in her chest as she approached Hannah, each step weighted with anticipation and uncertainty. The words she wanted to share coiled tightly in her mind, anxious to burst forth yet hesitating beneath the pressure of self-doubt. She paused, collecting her thoughts, and took a mental inventory of her vision. "Excuse me, Hannah." The mentor's playful banter veiled a serious undertone, and as her eyes met Lily's, curiosity flickered within them. Hannah shifted her focus to Lily, momentarily disengaging from the laughter swirling around her. "Lily, there you are. What's on your mind?" Drawing a breath, Lily pushed aside the clamoring fears that threatened to drown out her voice. "I've been thinking about what you said earlier about using our experiences to inspire change. I want to create something through my art that can open up dialogues, workshops where others feel safe sharing their stories. Can we talk about it?" Hannah's smile broadened. "Absolutely. I believe this could be transformative. Where do you envision starting?" The confidence Lily had summoned began to unfurl. "I want to foster a community through art. An environment where we can explore our struggles together. It might be messy, but I think if we open up those conversations, we'll create something beautiful." Hannah nodded, her energy infectious. "That's a compelling vision. You're onto something important." Yet, as Hannah spoke, Lily's mind drifted to potential challenges. How would she manage to keep individuals engaged over time? Could she create lasting change? What if it doesn't resonate? What if I can't keep people involved? The questions thundered in her head like a cacophonous choir, leaving her vulnerable and exposed. Such doubts are part of the journey. You have to confront them, Lily. The most impactful endeavors start out feeling intimidating, Hannah encouraged. Let's break it down. First, who do you want to reach with your workshops? Anyone who feels compelled to express their struggles. But will people actually come? Doubt nibbled at her resolve as she contemplated the prospect of rejection. Hannah contemplated for a moment. Think about how many people you mentioned earlier who were inspired by your speech. Combine your art with authentic expression, and you're offering them a life raft in the storm of vulnerability. Energy surged within Lily. The abstract edges of her vision began to sharpen. Right. I could hold a small introductory session, perhaps even host it at my studio. Invite people to explore their feelings through art. Perfect. You build an intimate setting that encourages connection, Hannah replied, her enthusiasm evident. With an ember of empowerment igniting within her, Lily considered logistics. They discussed creating an outreach strategy, and with each idea exchanged, she felt the burdens of doubt lighten, if only slightly. But there lay a greater puzzle. Would the reality of her vision stand against the crises of nerve she often battled throughout life? After their discussion, Lily took a moment alone in a quiet corner, allowing the weight of Hannah's encouragement to tumble through her thoughts. Planning was essential, but as she strategized, she felt an instinctual pulling back, an urge to retreat into her comforting solitude where fears blossomed without challenge. If she embraced this path forward, she'd need more than plans. She'd need emotional resilience and an authentic connection with her future participants. Am I ready for this? She whispered to herself, the silence responding with unyielding clarity. The answer seemed to flicker like a candle. She wasn't just ready. She was determined to let her fears and insecurities intertwine with her ambition, transforming them into the very art she hoped to create. With newfound resolve coursing through her, she decided to draft a detailed proposal for her first workshop, envisioning the art pieces created by others' expressions of joy, sorrow, struggles. Each session would challenge her to evolve alongside them. Yet, lurking in the depths of her excitement was the nagging voice that questioned her ability to truly uplift others when she felt so fragile herself. As she walked away from the conversation, buoyed by purpose and possibility, a deeper fear emerged from where she hadn't anticipated. Could she indeed face her own artistic expression of vulnerability in front of an audience? The tension mounted, knotting itself within the intricate layers of her self-doubt. It was one thing to teach others, but to expose her own journey felt perilously daunting. And yet, it was this authenticity that could forge a true connection, the very heart of her initiative. As her feet navigated the path leading back to her studio, Lily grasped that only by confronting her deepest fears could she light the way for others. Yet, deeper down, uncertainty loomed. Would each courageous step bolster her self-confidence, or would it rend her from her canvas and cast her back into the daunting abyss of self-doubt? The journey ahead was uncharted, but perhaps amidst the fear and hope, she would learn to paint the story that was uniquely hers. Lily stood in the empty studio, sunlight filtering through the large windows, casting playful patterns on the floor. The vibrant hues of her recent paintings seemed to pulse with energy, reflecting the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her. She took a moment to inhale deeply, absorbing the creative ambience, hoping to ground herself before diving headfirst into her proposal. The urgency to initiate her workshops pressed against her mind, a blend of excitement and trepidation. As she gathered her materials, she felt the tug of self-doubt tightening its grip once again. The thought of exposing her vulnerabilities felt akin to peeling away layers of self-protection, revealing rawness beneath. A tumultuous blend of hope and fear accompanied each brushstroke as she laid out paper and plans on her worktable. What if she failed? What if no one showed up? The doubts snaked through her consciousness. But she quickly reminded herself of Hannah's words: the most impactful endeavors start from discomfort, from the weighing down of self-imposed limitations. With a determination flaring within her, she began to draft her vision on paper. Her initial thoughts flowed freely, a stream of inspiration coursing down as she penned the objectives of the workshops. Create a safe environment, she wrote, while her mind conjured images of participants sharing their stories in an intimate circle. Encourage self-exploration through art, she scrawled next, feeling a rush of adrenaline at the thought of guiding others through their emotional landscapes. Yet beneath her growing enthusiasm lay a nagging voice that whispered doubts. Was she genuinely capable of creating such an environment? Could she inspire others when she herself grappled with insecurities of her own? These questions ignited a firestorm of reflection within her. As the words melded and formed, she began to envision the sessions. The potential interactions bubbled to the surface, people opening up through their expressions, their struggles melting into shared understanding. Then she paused, grappling with a sudden realization. Could she authentically share her own narratives too? The thought sent a shiver of anxiety through her, like stepping into frigid water. The fear of judgment loomed ever closer. Would her personal story significantly add to the tapestry, or would they expose her to ridicule? She had long been the quiet observer, letting others' voices resonate while stifling her own. Convincing herself to engage felt like navigating a path covered in thorns, each step potentially drawing blood. Time ticked away as she continued sketching ideas, but the weight of indecision pressed heavier. Lily recognized she needed to confront the art of sharing her own struggles, to allow her vulnerabilities to intertwine with her role as a facilitator. It was this authentic connection that would underpin her workshops, she realized if she turned away from her fears now, how could she expect others to face theirs? Pushing aside the chaos in her mind, she picked up a brush and dipped it into vibrant paint, losing herself in the rhythmic flow of strokes. With each motion, she challenged her doubts, turning them into visual expressions, colorful bursts of energy that symbolized her resolve to move forward despite the gnawing anxiety. As the painting unfolded, her mind wandered back to Hannah, who had seen potential within her when self-doubt threatened to obscure it. Art had always served as a refuge, a means to sift through complexities, and now it seemed a potent source of empowerment. With every mark she made, an idea began to crystallize in her mind. What if she penned stories alongside her artwork, a blend of her journey and that of others, illustrating the myriad emotions art could encapsulate? This could be the bridge connecting her vulnerability to others, serving as a testament to the power of shared experiences through art. Cleansing her brush in a cup of water, Lily stared at the canvas, feeling the unveiling of a profound truth. This workshop could not just be about guiding others. It could symbolize her own journey of healing and reinvention. The moment of truth lingered on her horizon, radiating an unsettling excitement that ignited each fiber of her being. Leaving the studio, she grasped the proposal tightly, her heart thrumming with unease and elation. The process ahead would demand vulnerability, and Lily knew she needed to confront her fears head-on. Would her story truly empower others, or would her insecurities quietly unravel her authenticity? Driven by an unwavering resolve, she stepped into the uncertainty that awaited her. The sun dipped beneath the horizon as she made her way home, illuminating the path before her like a beacon illuminating the darkness within. In the shadows emerged echoes of the past, silent stakes that whispered of confrontation and raw honesty. What awaited beyond the threshold of her own fears? Each breath bore the hint of courage intertwined with apprehension, as she prepared to wage war against the limitations that had shrouded her for far too long. The unknown loomed larger than before, a daunting landscape where her resilience would be put to the ultimate test. Would she emerge victorious, ready to embrace her journey and guide others, or would her fears shatter the delicate essence of what she sought to create? Lily entered her apartment, the door clicking shut behind her like the final punctuation of a chapter. The soft glow of the table lamp poured warm light over the small space, contrasting with the chill she felt inside. Her proposal lay firmly clutched in her hands, the crumpled edges a testament to her internal struggle. She set it down on the kitchen table and sank into a chair, staring at the swirling patterns in the wood grain, echoing the chaos in her mind. With a deep breath, she sought to gather her thoughts. She couldn't ignore the reality awaiting her at some point. She would have to present this to others, to share her vision and her vulnerabilities. What if their reactions fed her doubts, amplifying the fears she was trying so hard to mitigate? For now, it felt safer to retreat into her art. She slipped into her studio clothes, a comfortable pair of paint-splattered overalls that had seen her through countless creative endeavors. The familiar sensation of fabric against her skin aligned her mind with the task ahead, as if preemptively signaling the shift into a more focused state. Standing before her canvas, she concentrated on her next piece. Each stroke of the brush became a manifestation of her emotions, the anger, the hope, the uncertainty. This painting would not be mere decoration, it would serve as an embodiment of her journey. But with each line, she found herself grappling with an unsettling sensation, the urge to pull back from the rawness, to temper the vibrant hues with safe tones. What if they don't relate? What if it's too much? The questions arose again, insidious whispers threading through her thoughts. Yet a deeper voice within her spoke louder, reminding her that authenticity resonates. It had been the very thing that held her back all these years. The realization hit her: she had been erasing her vibrancy in favor of the mundane, opting for palatable forms rather than daring to reflect who she truly was. This time, she would not compromise. Each brushstroke was a renegotiation of her identity, a battle against the urge to conform to the expectations set by others. She painted late into the night, drowning her fears in a palette filled with vivid colors. An image began to develop, a haunting yet beautiful representation of chaos entwined with moments of clarity. This chaos echoed her life, punctuated by choices and indecisions, yet it also held the potential for transformation. It was cathartic, a reward cycle of releasing emotions like a dam breaking free. As dawn approached, Lily stepped back, her heart pounding. The vibrant colors spoke of her journey, bearing witness to her fears and desires. For a fleeting moment, a flicker of peace washed over her. This was an expression of self, an invitation to embrace vulnerability rather than hide it. Standing before the canvas, a thought ignited: what if she could use this not just for her workshop, but as part of her narrative? In that moment, she made a decision. She would incorporate her stories into her art. Rather than treat her experiences as an unwelcome burden, she would create a dialogue within the space of the workshop. Each participant would not only experience art but also connect through written reflections of their experiences. In doing so, she would reclaim ownership of her narrative. A new sense of determination surged through her. If she could craft a workshop that highlighted raw connectivity in environments steeped in both shared stories and artistic expression, then perhaps she could truly fulfill her intention. Still, apprehension flickered at the edges of her resolve. What would the participants think? Would they pull back from her honesty, or would it forge connections? With renewed energy, she opened her laptop and began outlining her workshop framework. Each section focused on bridging art with emotion, emphasizing openness and storytelling. She envisioned icebreakers that encouraged participants to share brief, honest reflections about their lives, each thread interwoven with the process of creation. As she formulated ideas, she realized her own personal conflict wouldn't merely serve as a backdrop, it would become instrumental. To write about her experiences meant lending authenticity to the process, and that was what she intended to channel. But was she truly ready for that level of exposure? Would peeling back the layers of herself resonate with others or repel them? Once the sun fully rose, Lily found herself staring out the window, caught between the intoxicating lure of ambition and the history of her fears. Her heart raced, the excitement mingled with trepidation, emotions swirling like her palate. The moment had come to face an uncomfortable truth. Stepping into the light meant allowing herself to be utterly seen. Determined, she returned to her proposal, editing sections, enhancing details about how intertwining stories would create an intimate experience. Each line echoed a commitment to herself and to those who, like her, fought against their own shadows in silence. At last, she penned the last line, and the enormity of her undertaking settled in. This was only a beginning, a prelude to confrontations both personal and professional. Would she be brave enough to share her most authentic self? And could she inspire others to do the same? The tension was palpable as she closed her eyes and envisioned the participants' faces, eyes wide open, hopeful and vulnerable. Perhaps, just perhaps, this was the moment of transformation they all needed. As she leaned back, a thought struck her. What would it mean to truly connect, to present her story alongside the stories of strangers, crafting an intricate mosaic of shared humanity? The journey was only beginning, and amidst the anticipation rested a looming question. Could she overcome the fear of rejection and embrace the discomfort that honesty demands? With that resonant query lingering in the air, she prepared for her next move, an encounter that would demand she confront not just her fears but the hearts of others as well. Lily spent the following days oscillating between enthusiasm and trepidation. Each moment of clarity was punctuated by sharp pangs of doubt, leaving her in a state of perpetual reflection. The thought of the workshop loomed before her as both a beacon and a barrier. She started to draft promotional material but found herself second-guessing every word, worrying that her vision might not resonate beyond the confines of her own psyche. As she sat at her cluttered desk, drowning in colorful paint tubes and half-finished canvases, Lily realized she needed outside input. She reached out to a couple of artist friends, hoping to gather their thoughts on her framework. Would they appreciate the focus on storytelling, or would they critique the emotional depth she intended to present? Their perspectives could either validate her choices or deepen her self-doubt. Her first meeting with Anna, a talented photographer known for her poignant, narrative-driven work, felt like stepping into a whirlwind of excitement. They gathered at a local cafe, the smell of coffee melding with the rich, comforting ambience. As they shared ideas, Anna's eyes sparkled, affirming Lily's belief that art could indeed be transformative when intertwined with personal stories. "You're not just making art, you're creating a space where people can connect," she emphasized, her enthusiasm infectious. Yet, when Anna hesitated, crossing her arms, Lily felt a sudden chill. Just remember, vulnerability is daunting, she cautioned. You need to prepare for the possibility that some might not accept all the pieces you lay bare. The comment echoed in Lily's mind, igniting a battle within. This was not merely an artistic endeavor, it involved exposing her deepest fears to strangers. Could she withstand potential rejection while hoping to create a meaningful connection? After several meetings, Lily found herself at her easel again, haunted by Anna's warning. Each brushstroke was now tinged with anxiety, the once exhilarating process turning overwhelming. She started to question her identity as an artist and as a facilitator. Was she strong enough to embrace the rawness of her emotions publicly? The fear of ridicule stirred beneath her fiercely colorful creations, threatening to dull the vibrancy she aimed to convey. That evening, she returned to her apartment feeling like a tightrope walker balancing above a chasm of vulnerability. She curled up on her sofa surrounded by sketches and half-finished paintings, a fortress of creativity that felt both comforting and constricting. The proposal loomed over her, demanding finality. Yet, she hesitated. After a restless night, she woke to the persistent urge to confront her fears. A revelation dawned: if she hinged her workshop on the act of vulnerability, she couldn't hinge her self-worth on others' approval. Embracing her insecurities was essential. She needed to reshape her perspective towards her art and herself. This was not about presenting a flawless creation, it was about fostering connection through shared experience. Resolved, she wrote a new section in her proposal: the workshop will not only showcase art but also challenge the illusion of perfection. Participants will be encouraged to embrace imperfections and mistakes. These are as much a part of the process as the strokes of a brush. As she poured her intentions onto the page, a sense of empowerment surged within her. Creativity wasn't just the end product but rather a process of exploration, a celebration of the messy, chaotic beauty of life. Lily took a deep breath, feeling a newfound strength. Next week, the workshop would begin. There was little time, and doubt still lingered in the corners of her heart. Yet, the clarity regarding her purpose fueled her determination. She was ready to reveal the essence of what the workshop stood for. But lingering at the edge of her mind was one daunting thought: was she prepared to confront not just her fears, but the potential fallout of revealing her vulnerabilities to strangers? The upcoming unveiling would determine whether authenticity bred connection or solitude. And as she tightened her grip on a paintbrush, fingers trembling slightly, her heart quickened with urgency. The moment of presentation was rapidly approaching, and with it, the possibility of an unprecedented transformation both for herself and those who might join the journey she was forging. Would she stand her ground when the time came to face the unpredictable reactions of others, or would she falter, caught in the crossfire of vulnerability and fear? Lily stood in her studio, the soft morning light pouring through the windows, illuminating her latest painting. The canvas before her was no longer just a collection of colors, it was a testament to her fears, her aspirations, and her journey. As she studied it, a wave of satisfaction washed over her. Each brushstroke that depicted her chaotic emotions now stood proudly sentient and alive, resonating with her struggle and resilience. This was far more than a simple art piece, it symbolized the courage to embrace her true self. The day of the workshop had arrived, the anticipation swirling in her gut like a tempest. With the proposal neatly bound and her painting displayed as part of the environment, she felt hallowed and exposed. This was going to be so much more than a presentation. It was an invitation for others to dive into vulnerability alongside her. As participants began to trickle in, a nervous energy buzzed in the air. Each smile exchanged warmed her heart, yet certainty shifted like sand under her feet. What if they couldn't connect with her vision? What if they found her unworthy of leading such an endeavor? The room filled with creative souls, each one embodying untold stories and aspirations. As they settled into their seats, Lily took a moment to breathe deeply, absorbing the palpable energy that enveloped her. A gentle reminder echoed in her mind: this was not about perfection, but about connection and shared experiences. Standing before them, she felt a familiar rush of vulnerability. This was her critical moment. She couldn't shy away from it. Pushing aside remnants of doubt, she began speaking. "Welcome, everyone," she started, her voice steady, albeit with a light tremor. "I'm so grateful you're here. This workshop is not just about art, it's about laying bare the truths of our journeys and discovering strength in our narratives. The warmth in her words enveloped the room, a spark igniting the shared vulnerability she sought to create. As she shared her stories of struggle intertwined with her resilience, she sensed a shift. Participants leaned forward, their eyes glistening with connection. Each revelation was met with a wave of understanding. They were not alone in their fears. The room transformed into a sanctuary of trust, anchored by authenticity. The icebreakers, infused with humor and support, peeled back layers of hesitation. Laughter filled every corner of the space, cascading down barriers and giving way to earnest dialogue. As they began to create through art, Lily felt something transformational stirring. It wasn't just her story resonating, but their experiences melding together in a tapestry of collective vulnerability. To her astonishment, each participant opened their hearts, contributing to discussions that flowed freely. They painted with wild strokes and messiness moments of clarity amidst the chaos. Every mark and color began to form an exposition of human experience, shattering her earlier anxieties about judgment. They were all there for the same reason: to embrace imperfections, to find meaning in the journey rather than in its culmination. Lily glowed with an invigorated sense of purpose. With each shared story and every laugh echoing through the room, she felt a profound transformation within herself. She was no longer that shy, uncertain girl restrained by her disability. Instead, she became a facilitator, a person of influence, building bridges of understanding through art. As the workshop progressed, the unveiling of both her art and that of her peers unfolded like blooming flowers, accounts of truth blending seamlessly into visual expression. At the workshop's conclusion, participants expressed gratitude with tears in their eyes, joy in their hearts. They felt empowered to share and connect, the fragile tapestries of their lives woven together in celebration rather than desolation. In those moments of reflection, Lily sensed a profound shift deep within her. The lingering fears began to evaporate, replaced by an undeniable sense of accomplishment. She had embraced her vulnerability and redefined her identity. This workshop was not merely an event, it was a powerful declaration of the potential unlocked when authenticity reigned. As she packed away supplies, participants lingered, exchanging contact information, committed to continuing this journey together. In the aftermath of the workshop, Lily felt solid in her newfound confidence. She had not only succeeded in leading others but had also conquered the shadows of self-doubt that had loomed for too long. Her heart swelled with pride and fulfillment. Lily realized she no longer had to carry the weight of doubt on her shoulders. She had transformed that burden into a foundation to empower herself and others. At that moment, the darkness that once seemed insurmountable faded, revealing the path ahead. Lily had achieved something remarkable. She was no longer merely a girl with a disability. She was a visionary, heralded by her peers as a voice championing the cause of vulnerability and authenticity through the medium she loved most, art. With her mission clearer than ever, she looked forward to her next steps. Ideas coursed through her mind for subsequent workshops, each destined to etch deeper connections into the fabric of her community. The doubt that once gripped her began to dissolve entirely, replaced by boundless possibility. Lily emerged not only as a creator but as a beacon of hope. This was her moment. The world now awaited the stories she bore and the lives she would continue to touch. Stay engaged and ready for more incredible stories of personal transformation. You need to subscribe now to catch every exclusive story. Set your notifications to not miss the next amazing tale of resilience. Leave a like now and show your support for those who dare to overcome. Comment below with your thoughts on this journey, sharing how you relate to Lily's experience. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who could use an inspiring story like this to uplift their spirits. Don't wait even one more second. Take action to support stories that ignite hope and strength.